Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today we are here in the shop back on our series about shop organization. Maybe you're like me and you're a pretty messy person and you've always been told that you're just a pig and that you really need to just knuckle down and get better at keeping things clean and organized. And maybe nobody has ever told you that you have a different organizational style than a lot of other people do. Maybe it's not a problem, but rather you have not yet learned the tips, tricks, and techniques to meet yourself where you're at to make it really easy and natural for you to keep things neat and organized. I am not a neat and organized person. At least I never thought I was until recently. Now, if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you know the shop can get really messy, and it's because I'm super busy. And some people tell me I need to slow down and I need to do less things, and none of that is true. If you're interested, don't go away. We're going to talk about this today, and we are actually going to do some hands on stuff. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
Your response and receptiveness to this series has been quite overwhelming. Great comments, great feedback. I can tell some people struggle with what I'm saying, but what I've learned as a therapist and as a counselor over the years about personalities is there are percentages of the population that have certain personality types and others don't. And I have found that probably 60 or 70% of people struggle with organization, and it's simply because of their organizational style, and that doesn't fit into what the other group in society has taught them about what organization and cleanliness is all about. Like I said, I'm one here preaching to the choir because I am at 57 years old, just starting to learn these things and apply these things for myself. The number one thing that I am learning is what I tend to do naturally is the key to better organization. To keep this real simple, and I don't want to get into all kinds of deep, dark psychology that you are a messy person because you saw your mom naked in the shower when you were 3 or anything like that. For one thing, that's really probably not a thing anyway. But to just keep it real simple, there are two different organizational styles, and one is visual and one is hidden. Visual organizers like things where they can see them because they can keep track of them. Hidden organizers like everything put away where they can't be seen. I find that I'm definitely a visual organizer, as you can see by the way I like to put things on hooks and on nails. I'll take you back to my other workbench and show you that. I remember Tim Allen on Home Improvement saying, if it has a hole in it, it goes on a hook. And I chuckle because I can so relate. But thinking through my life, I have realized that the quickest and easiest way for me to know something is organized is I can glance at it and know what I have. If all of this stuff, which I have a bunch down here of extras, if all of this stuff was in a tote, I wouldn't know what I would have, and I'd end up not being able to find it, and I would end up having to go buy more, and then I would have more than I need, and it would just become this endless cycle that would turn into even more clutter and more crap laying around. This area back here is not the greatest right now because I just painted the inside of the roof for the Challenger, so my paint materials need to go back over into the paint shop. One of the things I'm realizing is that I like to have all things together. I like to have them where I'm working, and it's real hard, especially where the paint shop is, and I have to crawl around a couple cars to get at it right now because of the way things are in here. If I had a container to have all of this in, it would be much easier. So I'm going to work on that. But I did put a container here with all kinds of the miscellaneous stuff that I tend to keep on my bench. And I have some tools here that do need to go back in the toolbox and some others that I haven't found a home for yet. But the basic tools that I use in the shop are all here on nails and on hooks. Now, I've showed you this before, but I just wanted to mention it again. I have a set of rails, socket rail over here with standard sockets, 6 points. I have my 1/2-inch impact sockets over here, my snap-on ratchets, basic pliers, scrapers, knives, screwdrivers, hammers, some tin snips, everything. And I can see from all the way over by the other side of the shop where I was just filming a moment ago. I can see what's here and what's missing just like that, by the fact that there's a screw right here that doesn't have a wrench on it. That's a 3/4 inch wrench, and I know exactly where that's at. It's in the trunk of my car. It's with my chainsaw because I was using it out in the woods to adjust the chain on my saw. When it comes to organization, I haven't done anything here yet, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and share all of that with you, but I want to talk a little bit about some of this. One thing I've had to come to terms with about myself is when I'm working on something, I want everything right at hand where I can see it. I've laughed over the years because I've had friends that work with me here in the shop, and not in this shop, but in shops that I've had in the past. And I'll be working on something, and I'll put a wrench down, and I'll go do something else, and I'll come back to grab that wrench, and it's gone because they grabbed it and put it back in the toolbox. To me, that is a complete waste of time. I don't have time to be running to the toolbox when I'm trying to get a job done. Put everything out, use it where it's at. When I'm done, then I'll throw it in a pile. Oh, that's a big key to my organizational style. One thing I've been doing is observing where I tend to put things. Right now, this bay is open this winter, and we're bringing other cars in here to work on. I have found that when I'm done with the job, everything gets picked up and thrown right here. And that tends to be where it stays until I take time to go put it back. So I asked myself the question, what would make it easier and keep it looking neater instead of being this big pile of rooster crows? What would make it easier? And if I'm going to get a bigger one, but for now, this is what I found. If I had a container here that all that stuff got thrown in, it looks neater until I get it all put back where it belongs. And then to put it away, it's really easy because I just pick this up and go put it back in the various spots in the shop where stuff belongs. But here's the second thing. When this gets full, it's also an alarm that goes off saying you need to go put this stuff back and do a reset. So it looks neater, it's more organized, it's fast, it's efficient, and it also has a built-in system that I don't need more containers here to hold stuff. When the container's getting full, I know that's the indicator that I need to go and regroup and push the reset button, reboot, so to speak, get stuff put back where it belongs and start over again. So the process definitely is, first, for me, it's observation. What do I tend to do with stuff, and how can I make what I naturally do with stuff easy? So I talked in the last episode about the shoe basket that Becky put in the house that I can't help. When I go in there, I can't help but put my shoes in that basket. It's a spot where we always kick our shoes off anyway, but when I'm sitting there kicking those shoes off, I immediately put them in the basket because it's just something in me that says I can't not do it. That's where you learn to meet yourself where you're at. What do you gravitate towards naturally? And what can you create for yourself so that you will naturally follow through and not do it? Some of this stuff is there's rationale. Like I've got a bottle of 2-cycle oil here. It's my chainsaw oil. Why didn't I throw that away? I left it here to remind myself I need to get some. Is that the best thing? No. But here's the thing that I will do is I'll get my phone now that I'm slowed down from what I was doing before, put a note in my list for shopping to get some 2-cycle oil, then I can throw this away. So there's a method to my madness. It's just a matter of taking the next step. I promise you, if I'd thrown this away, I would not have remembered that I need 2-stroke oil. And then when I go to cut wood next time, I won't have any to mix with the gas, and I'll be cussing and spitting because I forgot to get it. So I did leave this here on purpose for a reminder. I'm going to leave that there. This stuff just didn't get put away back in the body shop. So that's the simple stuff that we've talked about before. The paint for the truck is here. I'm going to put that over with the other paint for the truck in just a minute. Now this is trash. Why that's there? Absent-minded me. I'm very notorious for that. Just setting stuff down because my mind is already on something else. I am not going to change that about me. I just have to learn to meet myself where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this real quickly and go back to our 3 steps, following the first 2, deal with the trash and deal with the simple stuff. I'll be right back. There we go. All I'm left here with is a little bread pan with some miscellaneous stuff that I will deal with at another time. The tail lights for the golden mullet. I don't know why there's a charging cable for my phone here, but we'll hang that up out of the way for now until I figure out if that's a good one or a bad one. A couple of welding magnets here. Other than that, a few little things on the floor I want to deal with. But what's really left here now are a couple of kitchen knives that I need to recondition. This one my nephew and niece gave me. He actually made the handle himself. It's gorgeous. And this is another similar one that came from my house in northern Michigan that I brought home because I knew it matched this one that I got from Troy and Kenzie. So it's cool. Now, one other thing I want to talk about, by the way, this took me 10 minutes to do. Even though there's clutter on the surface, the deeper issues are things are getting more organized and easier to deal with as I continue down this path. So this might have taken me a half a day before to get this straightened up in 10 or 15 minutes pretty good. Now there's a lot of other stuff to deal with. One bite at a time. Remember, our shop is all about bites, whether it's welding, patch panels, fabricating stuff, doing paint work. It's always about taking bites. My buddy Mark, who does the show intro, "This is my car shop." That's his voice. Real good friend of mine. He and I were discussing some of this organizational video stuff because we talk about all kinds of stuff all the time, but we also talk about what's going on the channel. And he said, that he would be honest with me, and it wasn't, and then I know it wasn't coming from a place of judgment at all. He said he could never work the way that I do. And I chuckled to myself, and I don't remember exactly what I said back to him, but basically, I could never work the way that he does either. And it's because we have different styles, we have different approaches. Um, and neither is right or wrong. And he and I both know that, which is why we can have these really great conversations about things because there's no judgment. It's acceptance. He knows this is who I am. This is how I am. I know that's how he is. That's who he is. Neither is right. Neither is wrong. It just is. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Here's what I'm realizing as I'm learning to meet myself in my own organizational style. It's not a weakness. And I think that's where we've been served an injustice because all of our lives we've been told that we are pig, we're messy, we're this, we're that. And in the cleaning styles out there, that's one of the things to talk about is messies. And I don't think that's a good label. It's not that we're messy, it's that we're different. We think differently, our brains are wired differently, we see things differently, and there are definitely reasons why we do what we do. We may not even know that for ourselves. Becky always teases me because I tend to leave the cupboard doors open in the kitchen. I do the bulk of the cooking, and I tend to leave the cupboard doors open in the kitchen when I'm cooking. There's a reason for that. It's not because I'm too lazy to close a cupboard door. It's because while I'm cooking, I can glance over in that cupboard and see what's there and see what's there and see what's there. And my mind is always working on what I'm going to need next and where to get it, and taking time to open the cupboard door to reach in and get it and close it again gets in the way of my creative process in the kitchen because I invent most of my own recipes and dishes and all that stuff. And so my mind is going on, okay, flavor balances. If I put this in, that's going to give it some savoriness, but maybe it needs to have a little sweetness to balance that out. And I want to get some real good umami on this one. And oh, this definitely is too sweet. We need to add some salt to balance that out here. And oh, we could add a little cumin into this, and that would help with that. And that's the way my mind's working. So I'm not thinking about all this crap up here. My mind is focused totally on the creative process of understanding flavors and flavor balances and all of the stuff that goes into textures and yada yada yada. This isn't a cooking show. It's the same way I work out here. When I'm focused on the project, I'm focused on so many other things other than organization. That's not wrong. It just is. And if I'm focused on organization and cleanliness and putting things away, it gets in the way of that creative process. I miss things and things don't turn out as well. And it's almost OCD-ish, I suppose, in some ways. But as Mark and I were talking about that, I said this to him, I said, it's interesting because we each have areas where we're really, really strong, but they're not the same. I have certain strengths that he doesn't have. He has certain strengths that I don't have. He's come up here many times over the years and helped me organize the shop, and I get frustrated and I feel guilty sometimes because I can't maintain that. And I'm realizing it's because I'm trying to fit myself into his organizational style. Not that he's ever forced anything. I mean, don't misunderstand what I'm saying at all, but he does and suggests what comes natural to him, and it makes sense to me. But I realize I can't maintain it because it's not what I do naturally. Growing up um, with a dad who has a similar personality to Mark, who is very neat and organized, I know I frustrated the hell out of him because I was not able to keep my room clean, or when I would work in the garage or whatever, things weren't the way that they should be. My mom was much more like me. Till her dying day, she always said, "I'm not Susie Homemaker." She never came to understand her own organizational style. And I know she battled it. She always laughed and she made the best of she could, but she always said she didn't have a filing system, she had a piling system. Here's something that I'm learning. If everything is out where it's handy, then nothing is really handy because it's chaos. So there's organization in visual organization. That's why it's called visual organization, because each thing has its place. Everything, for the most part, is in its place. Here's my assignment. If you're somebody who struggles, I'm not asking you to do anything other than, I'm not asking you to do anything, but I'm not suggesting anything other than deal with the trash and deal with the simple stuff. Just stay focused on that. I've actually been focused on that for a couple months. Observe yourself when you're working. What do you naturally tend to do? If you have this pair of tin snips in your hand and you're working on something, when you're done at the end of the day, where does it end up? What are you learning about your natural mind and how you function? And then start thinking about, once you observe that, and you're going to take more than one pair of tin snips, it's going to take all kinds of other things. Just observe. Don't try to change anything. Just observe and say, okay, now that I've observed these things about myself, what would be easy for me to naturally do that would really help me keep things organized? What I've observed about myself is, if I have a bin designated for stuff and I've got these in my hand, at the end of the day, I'm going to throw them in there. At the end of the day, I'm going to throw that in there. At the end of the day, I'm going to not throw it on the bench, but it's going to be hard for me to resist throwing stuff in a bin. It really lines up with the motto for 24, which is make it safe, make it done, and go have fun. We're making it safe, we're making it done, and we're having fun. Isn't that what this is all about? There's more coming on the Stitches Challenger. I will be getting the epoxy this week to be able to glue that roof panel in. Hopefully the weather is going to be cooperating, and as soon as I can pull a day apart when the weather's right, we are spraying that 86 Dodge pickup to get that thing out of here. Also hope that my Ram truck is back on the road. The starter went out and it's been parked for a while because the weather's been crap and I haven't had time to get it in here. Can't work on it outside in the ring. So anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Lots more coming. I'm really excited about everything we have to share with you here this year in season 5 of My Car Shop. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, all the stuff. Please continue to help the channel grow. It's because of you we're able to do everything that we do. Oh, don't forget, a lot of you are new here and you may not know this, but it is really important. And I want you to always remember, don't forget to walk.